Hello there, good evening and welcome. Every moment of the day, events break from the nation's federal capital city, Abuja, by the critical players of the different sectors of our economic and socio-political landscape. What we do on this program, therefore, is to relieve these issues and happenings to your living room on a weekly basis. This is ABUJA Dispatch, and my name is Adegboyega Arobodo. Let's commence this episode by looking at those stories that made up our news headlines in the last 7 days.
President Muhammadu Buhari Wednesday has heaped praises on Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for opening his country's borders to accommodate millions of refugees in dire need of humanitarian support. Speaking at a joint press conference on the occasion of the official visit of the Turkish leader to Nigeria, President Buhari said his Turkish counterpart has set an example to the rest of the world on how to treat refugees. On the accomplishments from the visit, President Buhari said the key issues touched included a series of bilateral agreements and memoranda of understanding that had been finalized, including energy, defense industry, mining and hydrocarbons, among others, and the implementation is to commence immediately. As the nation marks 1 year of EndSARS on October 20th, 2021, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed has insisted that the claimed massacre of Nigerians during the nationwide mass protest against police brutality wasn't true. The Information Minister stated this while addressing the press conference on the current development on the EndSARS protest. Meanwhile, the EndSARS protesters have carried out their threat to commemorate the October 2020 protest, which claimed lives of many Nigerians. In Abuja, the youths came out in their numbers as early as 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning, singing solidarity songs and carrying placards of different inscriptions. Justice Bita Nyako of the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has fixed November 10th for continuation of hearing in the case of alleged treasonable felony instituted against Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. The case resumed Thursday amidst tight security at the court premises. Access was restricted to a few, while journalists were barred from entering the courtroom. Meanwhile, counsel to the defendant, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, insists the Nigerian government has nothing against his client, maintaining the 7-count amended charge is baseless. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDLEA has created the Directorate of Strike Force and 14 zonal commands across the country to enhance operational efficiency. The chairman, NDLEA, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa, hinted this while briefing State House correspondents on the different measures being put in place to scale up the agency's firepower for the ongoing drug war in the country. Marwa said before now, the absence of strong firepower has led to the dire consequences whereby NDLEA operatives were easy prey to mob attacks. The NDLEA boss further appreciated the unalloyed political will of the present administration towards facing the drug war headlong through the establishment of the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Elimination of Drug Abuse.
Welcome back. Issues of leadership and good governance have been of great concern since attainment of independence in 1960. Despite abundant human and natural resources, management of public wealth have continued to hamper the pursuits of national development in the country. On Dateline tonight, our focus reveals that low economic and development indices have direct links to the leadership question. Stay with us.
The roles of leaders in any given organized society are vital for the development and sustenance of such society. Leaders are expected to have a clear vision and well-articulated agenda on how to ensure that followers key into this agenda using the instruments of mass mobilization and effective communication. For Nigeria, getting leadership right has been a recurring debate since its independence in 1960. Most Nigerian leaders are accused of lacking the requisite vision, passion, and character for political leadership. As the major political parties gear towards evolving fresh leaders through their congresses, it behoves on the structures that would produce these leaders to do so in the overriding interest of the nation as a whole.
When a leader creates a platform, submission will become inevitable. Are you getting it now? But when there is no vision, the people perish. So as a follower, I want to follow someone that is leading me right, someone that is dispensing value. So when there is no value, when you're not leading me right, there's no way I can follow you.
If you give positions to the youth, they mess it up. The reason is that prerequisite knowledge and leadership skill to carry others along, to shift from this paradigm, this acquire everything. You see, somebody stealing money he doesn't need is because the value system of Nigeria as it were have so much been destroyed that money is now speaking over capabilities and abilities and influence. So the youth of tomorrow, it depends on who is counting the tomorrow. But if it is the universal tomorrow that we all know, the youth of Nigeria as it were, I think 70% cannot be the leaders of tomorrow.
Building this nation together is the only viable way to go. Now, when you have elders in any society who have seen many things, who have experienced many things, one of the benefits that the nation has is that these elders can take the wisdom of the years and the experiences they have and say, if we want to continue to have a peaceful, productive country, then these are the things we should do. These are the things we should avoid. So we have to be thinking about these things. And as we think about these things, help other people to think along.
Despite Nigeria's rich resource endowment, she has consistently ranked low in various international assessments on human development and good governance. The United Nations Development Programme Human Development Index, the UNDP-HDI, in its 2020 report ranks Nigeria 161 out of 189 countries. It is estimated that about 70% of 200 million Nigerians live below poverty level of less than $1 per day. These low economic and development indices have been attributed to poor leadership and absence of good governance in Nigeria.
For Nigeria to be able to make a lot of progress, Nigeria must begin to invest a lot of resources in human capital, more specifically leadership development. If you have a critical mass of people who are optimized, who are developed, who are groomed, then you have a critical mass of people with the right talent, the right giftings, the right technical and leadership competencies that will be able to drive progress in our country. If there's any time Nigeria needs quality leadership capital, it is now.
For Nigerian leaders, I would say they should go back to the drawing board. Remember when we used to have the former government talking about Vision 2020. So where is Vision 2020 today? It's not in place. So now we now have the SDG, which was introduced by the UN in 2015. Now talking about no poverty in Nigeria, but today we are the world center of poverty. Talking about unemployment, over 33.5% unemployment in Nigeria. So the only way we can lead this great company, because we are endowed with resources and we need to go back to the drawing board. Let's set a vision that will outlive us, not just...
If everything rises and falls on the leadership shoulders, then there is the need to evolve fresh curriculum into the nation's education system that will allow tutorship on leadership. Unless frantic efforts are set in motion, the product of the nation's education won't necessarily meet evolving societal needs.
It is time for us to begin to produce leadership based on potential. When people begin to go into courses they love, and they have passion for, then it's easier for leadership, Nigeria to be able to groom those who are passionate, who are going to create, even those who are into fashion industry. They're going into fashion schools. We don't need universities in that regard.
For me, I'm not going to dwell about whether we are doing or we are not doing. right now we are going to start doing, even if we haven't done, because we can't keep dwelling on deficit of leadership. We have to take the baton and move on. So we are going to do that right now and much later and beyond.
The quest for quality leadership and good governance is the aspiration of citizens in most countries of the world. This is because the task of harnessing scarce resources in pursuit of human and national development is related to the quality and output of leadership. The history of the development of great nations suggests that versatile leaders played a vital role in the transformation of their societies through good governance. Thus, the quality of citizens' life and the overall development of a nation is a reflection of governance in the nation.
Thanks for staying with us. Rising insecurity and violent communal conflicts are threats to the progress already made in Nigeria's democratic experience. Amid the deepening distrust in government and institutions, many are of the views that Nigeria has significant work to do in improving local security and governance ahead of the national and state elections in 2023. These are issues we center on in our next segment, Split Views. Join us again. Welcome to the Split Views segments of our program, ABUJA Dispatch. And on Split Views tonight, we take on the National Chairman, African Action Congress, AAC, and who purports to be the National Chairman, Interparty Advisory Council, Dr. Leonard Zewa. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks for having me on your program.
Now let me start with, what is Interparty Advisory Council? What's it about?
Well, the Interparty Advisory Council is the body of all registered political parties in Nigeria that have organized themselves to pursue interests of common good amongst the members, and also to see how they can also stabilize the polity in the course of their works, both from the party itself and also the party as a group. So what we set out to do is basically to identify the interests of the political parties as a group, protect their interests. In doing that, we're also conscious of exactly what happens in the state or in the polity, and also promote oneness of both the political parties as well as the nation at large. So essentially, it is not a opposition entity, but in stating that it's not an opposition entity does not mean that we do not differ with government in power. It does not also mean that we do not interrogate the government from time to time when we see clearly they have gone wrong, or when they're not serving the people, or when the people are disenchanted with a range of policies and programs they implement.
Now, yesterday, I know you are aware that in the Nigerian Senate, reconsidered some clauses of the Electoral Act, more or less empowering the Independent National Electoral Commission to determine the best way to transfer the election results. What does that process, that development mean to you?
Well, I think this legislative somersault is a step in the right direction. By the Senate revising itself also shows that they are also listening somewhat to the yearnings and concerns of Nigerians. But in as much as we do, we would have appreciated that July 15th, when this whole thing started, it was not needful in the first place. INEC is an entity that is saddled with the responsibility of conducting election as one of its core groups. In doing that, I don't think they need to be inhibited in discharging this core responsibility. And so when you say being empowered, it sounds so much as if they had no power in the first place. INEC has the power. It's a question of how you deploy this power for the good purpose of the people. Let me draw some parallels so that you understand clearly what I mean. You set me out on a journey to travel from Abuja to Lagos, and you provided the car. Of course, it is incumbent, it is taken that when you're providing this vehicle, there must be fuel in it. And in doing that, you refuse to give the fuel to provide the fuel to the driver of the vehicle. And in also not providing this fuel to the driver of the vehicle, you want the driver to also go to Lagos seamlessly without no issue. So the point being made is this: from time, INEC have the capacity. They have the capacity to anything that is administrative to further the interest of conducting election in this country, as long as it is peaceful and also it is also credible, transparent, and safety-laden. Now, why do I say this? I say this because the Nigerian polity is riddled with high voltage, high voltage of intense political quibblings that have negative energy. And you have a larger fraction of these people in the National Assembly beginning to exert themselves in many ways. One of the things we have seen so far is the exertion of these people in trying to curtail the powers of the Independent National Election to conduct elections. And so it is in that light I see it. It is a huru for us, but we should be cautious. At the same time, we need not over-dramatize it in our joy.
Now, INEC recently cautioned political parties and their supporters against unguarded utterances, particularly towards the Anambra election. I believe you were there at that interface. Why that call at the point, that we are now in the nation's polity? How urgent is that kind of call?
It's very urgent when we consider what is happening in Anambra, for instance. It's very urgent. It's also very urgent when you understand that we have very high level of insecurity across the Nigerian states, be it from Katsina, be it from Sokoto, be it from anywhere across Lagos, anywhere. There's high level of insecurity in this country, and when you combine this with the state of the economy of the nation that have impacted negatively on Nigerians, and also in a climate of COVID-19, where people are going through traumatic experience in extreme form. You have people are poverty stricken, more deep in poverty and all that. So any little tool will lead to frustration, and this frustration can be reflected or vented in many ways. So you find several Nigerians who are very aggrieved, who are not happy, and anything you do, they become very upset. And so when you have a situation like this, and the political system is expanding, as like another election is coming up now, what you need to find out is that when you combine this now, you find out anything can trigger, reactions and all that. So INEC making this call is also good. It's also part of their core brief to see that they use persuasive means to call on both the parties as a core partner in this process and the members as part of the effort to see what happens peacefully. I think it's taken, and we have taken that for granted, and we know that it's something they need to do continually.
You just said something about some of the functions, some of the core responsibilities of the INEC.
Yes.
Now, low level of political participation and this level of voter apathy is very common now in our electoral process. Even we are just expecting that there will be a little bit of difference in 2023. But what we consider to be those issues that the electoral system as a whole must really tackle now in order to increase that kind of political participation from the people who are really the core, stakeholders in this game?
Well, I can't say there are myriads of reasons why these two happen. You have high level of political apathy in Nigeria. I say voter apathy, let me be very, very specific. Nigerians are politically conscientized, but the thing is that the energy around this political conscientization is not properly directed. People are alert to the environment and to people that govern them, but they are not participatory because there is no trust in the system, and this lack of trust in the system has led to a situation where people continually find people are beginning to distance themselves from believing in the representative of the people, so-called representative of the people that is elected by the government, elected by the people. It has also led to a situation where you have people will not want to get themselves directly in voting, casting their votes and all that. So, in a nutshell, there are myriads of reasons. It is both social, it's both economical, it's also political, and it's also a function of the new culture that is also evolving now. Of course, there's a culture of impersonality. People are not. The digital era is beginning to erupt. Let me use the word erupt a colony or nation of people who are in the social space, but and because they live their life within the social space, people tend to associate themselves with them. But the sad thing is that most of these people that you find in social space lack the basic connection between them and the people. And so that's why when you find many of them are given opportunity to occupy sensitive positions, you find them failing. So in a nutshell, there are several reasons that account for this, and it is part of the responsibility of not only the political party to address this, it's also the responsibility of the media, who is also part of a partner in this process, for us to see what we can do. The voter apathy is a big subject matter that we need to address. But for us to do that, we need to secure both the political space and also secure other spaces. And if the insecurity is addressed and lack of trust is also addressed by the way we begin to see high level of voter participation in Nigeria.
Now, before now, many people have said that, well, Nigeria has been a lot of, we have a lot of gains in the political process before now. But looking forward to 2023, what do you consider to be those issues that we should really tackle? Many have talked about monetary inducements and some other areas, but what are those key things that you think, as an interparty person like you are, what are those areas that you think that we should really face now to have a better game ahead of it?
I will split it in this manner. We'll have to look at what we need to do economically to put this country on a good path. We'll have to also look at it from the angle of the political side. We also have to look at it more importantly on the role families have played in this country. Now, let me take the economy as a whole. Now, if a man is happy with himself, if a man is happy, he can feed and he can take care of his people, his family. I tell you that the man was very happy. Even when you're talking about politics, he tell you, yes, sir, he's interested to come in there. But if these things, because why I'm doing this, I'm going to the elementary level so you understand how these things affect us in many ways. Now, people are very unhappy because of the state of their purse. And because of the state of their purse, they are incapable of fending for their family. And the man who is incapable of fending for his or her family is an infidel. That's what the scripture says. The man is battling with a psychological challenge, to uphold himself that he's a man, to take care of his family. The mind is working in so much, you wouldn't get him into politics. Now, on the other side, so what we need to basically is this: if there's going to be some social investment, if there's going to be something, not the pittance, not the tokenism, and this tokenism that are not trickle down that we see. These are tokenisms that are exhibited for photo ops or media dissemination. If we are sincere and we do all we can to reach these people at this lower bracket and make them happy, it will impact on us before we come to the elite. The second thing we also have to look at is the political space itself. We have seen the rise of non-state actors occupying space in Nigeria. And why are they occupying this? They're occupying this space largely because of the seeming failure of the ability of the political leaders to hold the political space together. And who are those political leaders? The political leaders are people like us. Have we fared well? I would say we've not done pretty very well, but that does not mean that we're going to be used the same brush to also paint us, all of us, together. Some of us are making some very pragmatic effort to see how things are corrected, but you know that this will not be done overnight. It has taken a whole lot of decades for us to get to this point. And so what we should be concerned is, how do we at this time identify this problem, put a finger around it, and find solutions around it? So in a nutshell, the point is for us to see the factors, if you're putting it by way of 1, 2, 3, 4, is a whole lot of reasons why we are in this state. And we need to address each of them before we can club them together and make some success out of it. Tonight we've been featuring the National Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, and the National Chairman, African Action Congress, AAC, Dr. Leonard Uzehoa. Thank you for your time, sir. Thanks for having me.
In as much as the government wants to conduct peaceful elections, there are non-state actors who have been heating up the polity, who have made all kinds of attempts to stymie orderly elections for next month. The president has directed that under no circumstances will anything be allowed to stop the elections from taking place successfully. The people have a right to vote. They have a right to select their leader, and no group or individual will be allowed to stimulate anarchy and chaos leading to murderous activities. The president has made it very, very clear that the armed forces, security agencies, and law enforcement agencies must make sure that the elections take place. If it means overwhelming the entire environment with the presence of security agencies, there are so many implications for elections to be sabotaged by non-state actors. In the first place, we're in a democracy. Secondly, it is important to note that if these non-state actors should succeed in destroying the potentials for orderly elections, then it is natural that other parts of the country will also want to copy this situation.
That is our package tonight on Abuja Dispatch. For further information, comments, and suggestions, you can reach us out on any of our various social media platforms. That is how far time can permit us tonight on Abuja Dispatch. A week from now, we bring you another refreshing package. Same time, same station. My name is Adegboyega Arogbodo. Have a good night.